This is an amazing tool that I discovered last week. It's all about testing emails for things like making sure the URLs work, the UTM parameters are in place for link tracking, and spam testing can happen, stuff like that. The campaign pre-check is a really amazing workflow system. So I'm just going to do a campaign pre-check here and record it in this video, just because this is a trial that may not be on for much longer. It's about two more days or 3 days left. So I'm sort of documenting what it does for future consideration. Okay, so it says, do you have the email, HTML, or a URL? And we actually do have a URL. That's because of Constant Contact. So we'll go down here into the URL part, go to Constant Contact. Excuse me. And if you go into any of the campaigns, it's really amazing because it gives you a email link, and I can copy the address, paste it into email on acid, and it will get the entire email the way Constant Contact would be sending it. So a little different from a typical URL that you get when you click on the view in web browser, I think. So this is just to show what it looks like. So one of the interesting things is that some people in corporate environments have images turned off by default, so you can see what the email looks like for those folks. And this is actually really important to work with. So let's turn images back on, and you can see the previews for tablet, mobile, all that stuff. So that's good. So we'll go back to desktop. So we're going to just step through this workflow. Coming up next, see how your pre-header text looks. Okay. Now this is cool because it's going to show us what it looks like on different phones over here on the right. So sender name, news at hfadventurecenter.com. Subject line, will you be rocking the river with us on May 4th? I don't remember if that was the subject line. Actually, let's do this here. We'll copy the whole thing. Let's do it like that. Boom. Okay, and then the pre-header text, adventure awaits you at Harpers Ferry Adventure Center. It got that from the URL. All right, so I already distrust the iPhone 6 and iPhone 6 Plus because it says, will you be rocking the river with us, as if the phone screen is that wide, which we know it isn't. But iOS Gmail, very common. So this is interesting. Will you be rocking the river, That's good. iOS Outlook. Android Gmail, which is an important one. And then desktop, how's it going to look for Outlook? This is a good one here. News, will you be rocking the river with us? Okay. Gmail, will you be rocking the river with us? And Outlook.com, Yahoo. So that's kind of really useful. So, and then it has the send anxiety meter here. It's all red still because we haven't gone through it. So we've seen what that looks like. Now it says time to take your campaign accessible. So that's like screen readers and color deficiencies, and when it zooms in. So I'm not going to be doing too much here, but if we say, oh, it won't let you do that without saying what language. Okay, we're trying to just skip through it. Okay, set presentation roles for screen readers, and I'm just going to say add roles to all, and we'll just say next. We're just trying to go through this. No title attribute found in your email. Don't know if that's important, but it's something that could be looked at before. Set image alt text. We probably should have done that before. This here, I think, must be the line. Yeah, this blank thing is the line, so that's a little awkward that that's an image. Probably because the more images you have, the more likely it is to end up in the promotions tab. So anyway, it's probably, we'll just put line and then Rockin' the River pick, and let's see how that shows up. So if we say images blocked, we now see that the alt text is there. Logo, Rockin' the River pick. So anyway, congrats. Contrast ratio, enhanced link accessibility. Now this part, I'm not entirely sure about the underline, but anyway, they're talking about that. This accessibility is kind of interesting because it relates to things like people that are having a hard time reading outdoors on their mobiles. So contrast comes into play. Okay, you missed a spot. Keep going, but email wasn't ready for prime time. Fix these issues. Anyway, don't care. Using a URL. No, let's continue. Okay. So right now it's checking to see if the links in the email are problematic at all, which is great because it just wants to let you see that there's no mistypes or typos anywhere. That would be a mess. None of your domains are blacklisted, so that's another good one. Okay. So campaign, would you like to add campaign parameters? Definitely yes. Okay, so this is where we get into the source, medium, and campaign name. There's a little bit more that we can do, but we need to make sure that anything used here is done according to how the website has been tracking source campaigns and mediums. But typically, campaign source would be something like monthly, or let's see, HFAC email list source. Right. Medium is email. It sounds kind of redundant. Campaign name is, let's say, Rockin' the River version 1. So if we're doing a B test or something. Anyway, give us a high five. Coming up next, images are styled and sized. Okay, and looks like you can do some cool stuff here. We could, not that we want to, but we could put a border around that, which we actually don't want to do that because it looks bad. Okay. No, I'm stuck with it. Anyways, but it's helping you understand how things might be. Didn't find any animated GIFs, so that's not saying you shouldn't have it. I think it's just right there as a piece of information in case you did have them. And then it says view and email download map. This is really interesting because it helps you understand if the images are too big in file size. And so that's one of the things we did is run it through tiny JPG, tiny PNG for each of the images. So this is actually really, really cool. So those images are named probably by constant contact. So the download time on 3G, which is what we want to go for, 2.1 seconds, we actually need to get as minimal as possible. So usually you try to do everything for 3G. Okay, optimize all. Let's see what that does. Don't know if it did anything. So anyway, let's say next. Missed a spot. Image optimization. Don't care. Review spelling. This is great. Okay, Rockin'. So we're going to ignore that because we know it's Rockin'. We know Harper's doesn't have an apostrophe, so we're going to ignore that. Same thing there. Ignore. Ignore. Zipline is interesting because zip space line is actually the official spelling. But people search on both, but technically it's zip space line, 2 words. And we'll get rid of the Harper's, Purcellville. Rockin' again is okay. Congrats, no spelling errors. And then this is cool, campaign pre-check details. So it just tells you stuff that's been done or not done or whatever. went through a lot of that stuff without, spending any extra time on it to make sure everything was right. But I think you can also just download it, and then let's see what it does, because it'll probably let you have something that you could put in constant contact, possibly. We don't know specifically. So there's a little more to this, but the cool thing is you can at least import the email campaign prior to sending and run through these straight pre-checks. The other thing it does is spam testing. And with spam testing, you send to test emails for different types of recipients, and then it tells you spam likelihood based on the server, the content, the subject line, the IP address that it's coming from, server reputation. So that works through the inbox. So we have some samples here that I did. So I created a campaign temporarily for the version 2 of the Rock the River. And if I click on that, it comes up over here with deliverability information. And I can see detailed results here. So what's cool is it says failed Gmail, failed Apple Mail 10, passed everything else. Oh, Outlook 2007. And these are the biggies here, the Spam Assassin score, Sender Policy Framework, DKIM, it's a server configuration. So this B2B deliverability is because of GMX and Google Apps. Actually, here, Google Apps. So that's a B2B thing. B2C deliverability is because of Apple Mail 10 and Gmail especially. I don't think too many people are using Outlook 2007. So that is the really cool thing here, is the spam testing. So theoretically, because we see it failed in Gmail, we could go and make some tweaks to this particular email, which would be things that probably are related to the text-to-image ratio, the visual space usage, and possibly this exclamation point. So those are things that can affect spam filters. Okay, that's the scoop.